Hi, Karl Golovin. There was one pipeline that was not destroyed. Presumably, the demolition charges still. There presumably are demolition charges from the one pipeline that was not destroyed. Would not those obviously lead back to the perpetrators?
If we went and did it, if we went and got the C4 or whatever.
Whoever may have them. But secondarily, just briefly, so you may answer both questions.
Well, let me just answer the first
yes,
one
sir.
first. You always plan for everything. And for example, by OSINT, they put out all, they could have, if they wanted to, the people running this, to take care of the OSINT people, they could have had the Japanese fleet in 1941 coming down to bomb Pearl Harbor. They could have done anything they wanted. They could have painted any scene for the people that monitor it, which is, it's hard for people in OSINT to accept that, but they're part of the cover. And so they would have thought, if you remember the story I wrote, it was supposed to happen in June, and he said no. He bailed out. He was afraid he'd be named then. And they had 3 more months. And the problem they worried about was, it's low frequency. As you know, high frequency in water burns out. Low frequency is really like this. Like when kids, remember, knock, 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 knock. That's what it is. And there's always a chance, there's so much traffic and so much low frequency noise of popping it. And also there was a worry about just being there that long. And still be viable. I don't know what happened with one of it, but I assure you the people involved thought of every option, which, in other words, there was nothing there that would be traceable. It was all standard stuff. They used, the sonar devices they used were off the shelf, made by Raytheon. The one they dropped in the trigger, it was all off the shelf. They had to know what you're doing. And the miners involved, I'll tell you how many there were, 2. And it's from the Mine Command. And the Mining Command in the Navy is not a high-end command, but those guys are amazing. They're assigned to almost every task force around the world. They, as I wrote, they do good things. They clear harbors. They get rid of damage. Where the bombs took place was off of an island in World War II that the Nazis controlled. And there was tremendous stuff on the bottom all over. That's one question. So I haven't asked anybody specifically a question, but I know they had a list of all the things that could go wrong. So, and that would be it, leaving stuff there that would be traceable.
And this is very briefly a follow-up to a question I asked you at your last Committee for the Republic event. I was a secondary 9/11 responder as a U.S. Customs agent, specifically sifting the rubble of World Trade Center 7, an anomaly which refutes the official narrative of 9/11. Tucker Carlson just appeared on the show Redacted, and he spoke about World Trade Center 7 and asked why is it we can't talk about the way that building came down, that it doesn't fit any official narrative. And I would ask you to please follow up on that. Thank you.
Well, half the meal I get is about 9/11 again, and the other half is about the JFK assassination. So, it's just, I don't know, where do you begin? So Building 7 is a big hot wire for a lot of people.
Well,
I'm happy with my little conspiracy now that I'm into.
Actually, I have a text for you, author Laurent Guyénot, The Unspoken Kennedy Truth, which goes where I'm sure you will.
I promise I'll read it. I promise I'll read all that stuff.
Bless you. Thank you.
No problem. I will tell you that this is you or he.
Yes, sir.
I will tell you that there is
we've emailed previously, and I'll follow up.
There is stuff that has not been released by the Warren Commission, and it's really scary what they did. Some of the stuff they withheld. It's a great story. I'm not ready to write it yet. I'm too busy with this other one. I'm going to stick with this one. I'm going to stick with this one because the Biden game is to wait it out and never say yes. Not only because there's down the road incredible. I did a lot of reading about law, made the law of the sea, and there is no statute now that specifically deals with destruction of a pipeline. There's a lot of statutes going back to 1884. There was a treaty we signed that was augmented in 1898. We signed it about if you inadvertently or overtly cut a telegraph line. And then there's a lot of stuff that was done after we started putting coaxial cables and all the stuff we do, all the communications we now have. There's law about that, There's not, and there's a movement among some committee in the Bar Association Committee to get some law written that's accepted on actually destroying a pipeline. But there's certainly an awful lot of law about responsibility for breaking something. So I think that's one issue. But you've got enough. We can do that.
But bless you, thank you.
No, don't bless me. Are you kidding? I want more than blessing. I want police protection. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. John Gizzi, White House correspondent for Newsmax.
He hasn't put the big boys in. He's still got the Wagner group going on one side. On the other side, he has a bunch of reservists, really. I mean, he leaned out those guys who are doctors and lawyers, but he's got a lot of reserves with minimal training on the other side. He has not put he's got 350,000 in reserve.
But how much longer can you keep going at this level and maintain sufficient support within Russia, particularly among the oligarchs?
You listen to the vote.